items of just 1 penny. I just want to say, you cannot pay anybody a livable wage, let alone a wage, selling your items for 1 penny. That is slave labor, plain and simple. And so this is the result of the fast fashion industry. I will tell you what these pictures are. So on the top we've got Chile's Atacama Desert. Doesn't look like a desert, does it? Looks like a dumping ground. On the bottom, that is a street over from Ghana's Contamano Market. That is a waterway. That is not storm debris. That is not dirt. That is clothing, clogging the waterway. And these clothes do not degrade. They do not break down. In Chile, they are literally on fire in the desert. Yeah, they don't break down. And actually, I believe it's like 16 million articles of clothing get dumped every single day in Ghana. However, there is hope. There are some companies and some organizations that are trying to do work to help tackle this problem. There's an LA-owned company called Ecotex, which operates in Santiago, Chile, and they actually recycle what they can of the dumped clothing into yarn, thread, and fabric. And then in Ghana, Contamano Market exists, and they actually resell clothing that has gone through international sales and ends up in Ghana. So they have a resale market there. It did catch on fire within the last year, so they are dealing with that, but they are recovering, and people are trying to do the work, and it's our job as privileged people in the West to help them in any way that we can. Alright, and so now we are going to take a brief look at the economics of fashion. We're going to explore the role that we as consumers play in the fashion industry. Sorry, there is going to be some math, just a teeny bit, but pretty easy stuff. So we're first going to look at supply and demand, and the law of supply and demand essentially states that these two curves, the supply curve and the demand curve are inversely related. So that means when demand goes up, supply goes down. So say at Walmart there's a new Hello Kitty item and everybody wants this item. There's less of the Hello Kitty item on the shelf. So demand goes up, supply goes down. Say people are like, oh God, all that plastic? No. Demand is going down, therefore there's more Hello Kitty on the shelf and therefore more supply. And due to that, they will actually lower prices to move that product. And so now we're going to look at the law of demand, and this is basically like how we fit in as consumers. You can see on the left we have a demand schedule with price and quantity demanded. And as you can see, the lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. And that is why it is downward sloping. So at $5 you can sell 10 items. At $3 you can sell 30. At $1 you can sell 80. And so what is the significance of the downward slope of demand? Well, there's 3 reasons why it slopes downward. We have the substitution effect, which is if a substitute good's price decreases, then more people will buy that over the original good, thus decreasing the demand for that original good. So an example of that would be like almond milk versus whole milk, or like, I don't know, Macy's versus Nordstrom. Income effect. So this is about like how much money the consumer has and their purchasing power. So if your purchasing power decreases, you're going to demand less. If your purchasing power increases, you're going to demand more. And so there's this thing called inferior goods versus normal goods. And so when you have a lower purchasing power, you're going to have a higher demand for inferior goods. So an inferior good versus a normal good would be like instant ramen versus Costco's Take and Bake mac and cheese, or Forever 21 versus like Rick Owens or something like that. Rick Owens is a designer and and then you have the law of diminishing marginal utility. This basically states that the more you consume a good, the less satisfaction you get from it. And I think we can kind of see that in the culture with the high production and consumption of fast fashion, like I would say that people generally are probably dissatisfied with the clothes that they have if they're shopping. Love. Like I have a pair of brown jeans that I wear every single week, and I swear to God, Savers should be paying me to wear them. Like I love them that much. So yeah, so that's why it's downward sloping. There are also shifters of demand, and I will have a graph in the next slide that kind of shows you what that looks like. But so there's taste preferences, which is essentially what the consumer actually likes. So in this case, we like sustainable fashion, and we like secondhand goods. The number of consumers is also a factor that shifts demand left or right, or increasing and decreasing. So, for example, if you take Labubu's for a little case study, earlier in the year, everyone was like crazy about Labubu's, like you had to have one. So there was a very large number of Labubu's, of consumers who wanted Labubu's in the market. And now we have trend forecasters saying that people are moving away from superfluous trinkets. So there's likely less consumers in the market for Labubu's. And then we've got price of related goods. So, for example, say Coach is having a sale on wallets. They may be able to move purses, sell purses, because someone might want a matching purse to go with their new wallet, or vice versa. That would be an example of like price of related goods. And then, again, income. This is related to what we talked about earlier. Demand can increase or decrease depending on a person's income. And then lastly, we have expectations. So this is essentially like how rational consumers interact with the market based on what they perceive will happen in the future. So I'm just going to read off the little example that's in there because I feel like it's very succinct. Rational consumers will decide what to buy in the present based on perceived or reported forecasts of future events in the market. And so how do we specifically fit into the supply-demand equation? So we can see here, we've got another graph, sorry guys. This is D1, this is our original demand. We could say, for example, that this is our demand as it stands. People really love fast fashion, love cheap clothes, right? And we've got a higher point of equilibrium. D2 is a decrease in demand as fashion decreasing because we are signaling to the market that we don't want it. So yes, when you decrease your demand for first-hand clothing, the market will read that and ultimately react by supplying lower quantities. And so now that we know all of these things, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do? We are going to opt out. We're going to opt out, guys. So how do we opt out of the current fashion market? So we can be consumers, right? But we can also be makers and menders and sewers and knitters and so many more kinds of like artists. We dictate with our buying power how the market moves. It's us. We are the so if we put less gas in that cheap, fast fashion, horrible exploitation engine, there's less movement for that, right? So we can change how we consume. We can consume more secondhand goods. We should consume more secondhand goods. There's enough clothing on this planet to dress 6 generations, right? So that's what we can do. And then we want to transition back from being consumers to makers and menders. So learn or hone making skills, which is like sewing or knitting or crochet. Learn to repair your clothes. If you don't want to do that, ask a friend. I love doing that for my friends. I love sewing and knitting for them. It's my favorite thing to do. And then get familiar with fabrics and fibers. That is some pretty essential advice that I have for you. And so for this next section, we will be doing a little bit of an activity. But first, I want us to get familiar with some definitions of the different kinds of fibers that are out there. So we have natural fibers, which are made from like cotton, wool, linen, silk, so plants and animals. And then we have mineral fibers, which are fibers made from inorganic materials such as steel, slag, runoff, literally rock. And most of the mineral fibers are actually used to make insulation for housing. So I actually don't have any samples of that with me today. And then we have synthetic fibers, which are man-made fibers. That's polyester, nylon, rayon, acrylic, all that jazz. And so now that we have the definitions, I would like to invite you up here to this table. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've got 6 samples of different fibers, fabrics, and they're each labeled with a card. And I would like for you to, just to yourselves, guess what kind of fabric it is, check the card, note your feelings, and then once everyone has done that, I'm going to ask for people's observations. So feel free to come on up and take a look, and yeah, so come on guys, let's go!
Good job. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, please touch
Touch
them.
away.
They're meant to be experienced.
I got like one close, but it's like, but I got it right with whether it was measurement or.
Crazy.
I didn't think that video, I remember I did.
No, no. Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah.
They're like holes that everyone thinks behind and wearable and stuff. So I was able to like a pile of just ones that are not really wearable that I have to
I was just thinking like,
yeah, a lot of those are just like in a very unfortunate area where it's like, it's not like a stylist experience.
In the place that's privately we're actually doing things that you're not observing in the back. You know, but yeah, it's like, so you have a class, it's still separate from the grade.
I know it's very well of your video.
I love that. I just have my own stuff.
Oh, here, yes, yes. What's yours?
Only way down to
So basically, you have a needle that is like serrated and there's 20 meters serrated. And then you,
I don't know my schedule to see what.
yeah, what else you're doing? Yeah. It's not unflexible. It's like otherwise I would paint this week. But it's like kind of, it has like, bars. Yeah, thank you, exactly. Bars on like either
Part
side,
of the
and then
original plan
what you
for
do
this
is
whole
you
project.
like put that into the.
So it just, but I couldn't do it all at once, so that's why I left it. Now, and then
And like this would be
you
the
know,
part of the wheel house, the little kind of like some like stuff. So that's what you like little by little, you kind of adding it together. And you can sign up for that. Yeah, there you go.
No, first,
Are you all
yeah.
set?
Which is harder. That's awesome. Not yet. Oh, they're waiting.
This is a live graphic, okay.
So, maybe I'll show up again.
Alright, did everyone have a chance to experience the fabric samples? Yes? Okay, great. Awesome.
Did early.
Love to hear it. I'll let everybody get settled again. Alright, and so I'm curious, I would love to know anybody who wants to contribute, like what your observations were about the fibers and fabrics in front of you today. Anybody have any observations? Yes.
I heard the more natural ones had more of like a texture to them, and then the synthetic ones are sweet and like this and here.
Nice, thank you. Any other observations? Yes.
So going off of what you just said too, it almost seems like the natural fibers have much more of a body, like they're going to last more when the natural fibers, the unnatural fibers, are really, they really feel like they're just kind of there for stuff.
Yeah.
As soon as you pick them up and feel them, you're like, this is going to be something.
That is a great observation, and actually reminded me of something. Oftentimes when you go to like any kind of store, actually, this is a commonplace practice, they will actually spray the clothing with a washable, like water-soluble spray to make it softer, and that's only for show, really. So yeah, thank you for that observation. Is anybody else? In the back.
I have a little woo-woo observation.
Okay.
With a little knowledge behind it, but the natural fibers like carry a frequency where the synthetic does not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love that.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's very intuitive. I'm loving this. All right, that's great. Does anybody else have any other observations before we continue on? Yes.
I feel like over time, like looking at the vintage versus the modern with polyester, I feel like we've gotten a lot better at like mimicking like actual satin silk, and like the polyester from back in the day, I'm like, oh, I would not buy that. But like I thought that the modern one was like could have been real.
Yeah.
So I think we've just like gone better at like that kind of.
Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you guys for participating in this. And sorry, my laptop went to sleep. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how we source materials sustainably. My first stop is always the thrift store. You can get curtains and bed sheets, and those are just large swaths of fabric that you can make clothing out of. They also have yarn and fabric scraps, and of course clothing sheets. And then my favorite way to shop though is locally owned and secondhand shops. One of the shops we're in right now, Bushwood Tailors OppShop. Wonderful place. Next door we've got New Bedford Fiber Arts. I bought some yarn from them in the spring and I really loved it. It was a great like sensory experience for me. And then in my area, I may not have mentioned this, I'm from Western Mass. In my area we have Swanson's Fabrics, which is a secondhand crafting and sewing store. They've got a physical store in Turner's Falls, and they also have an online store. And then Paper City Fabrics is also located in Western Massachusetts. It's kind of the same deal as Swanson's. They have a physical store and an online store. I highly recommend these two companies because they are really great at literally recycling discarded textiles and giving new life to it. If you're ever in the Holyoke area, highly recommend you check out Paper City Fabrics. They have a really beautiful storefront, and actually the owner was just recognized by one of our newspapers because he personally designed and sewed a dress for content creators' red carpet appearance at the new Wicked for Good movie. So that was pretty cool. Just wanted to shout that out. Yeah. And so ultimately what I'm getting at is this concept that I've been thinking about for years, which is radical subsistence fashion. It is fashion as a means of protest, but it's also making your own fashion and style from things you already have, and also from like sustainable and secondhand sources. And what I mean by like fashion as a protest, like it's you stepping out of the capitalist system, it's you stepping out of contributing to exploitative labor conditions, working conditions. It's you stepping out of pollution from the fashion sector, and it's you stepping out of capitalism, which is literally destroying our bodies, minds, and nature. So yeah, and then you can actually see some of the pieces I've made. There's only two on this screen, but they're actually in this room. I made this star fruit halter top, and then this pink sweater, and they're actually hanging up there. So if you would like to see them after the presentation, you may. Yeah, and so ultimately, what I hope that you all feel after watching this or leaving today is that you have power. The power is inside of you to affect change on an individual and a community scale. I don't want you to feel hopeless. I want you to feel emboldened and empowered. So I leave you with it. Thank you for attending this talk and this workshop. I'm so happy to see all of you here.
I just wanted to add, there's also a local shop that's similar, called Amy's Thousand Treasures in
Okay.
Bushwood.
Oh, yes.
It is a little bit of a location.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
super clean and organized,
Okay.
but it is all consignment, so it's
Oh,
like
nice.
stuff from people's stashes that they're just trying to sell there, and I've gotten like cotton batting and quilting and other related things.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
And so I'd like to, kind of
I could add on to that as well, and another great location, on the side of the East Coast is the Creative Reuse Center.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with them, they're entirely volunteer run, they've got fabric, yarn, they take in, donations from the local creative businesses in Providence.
nice.
And maybe like big fabric sales.
They
And
sell
yarn,
huge
yeah.
sales like once a month.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for those resources. And now I'd like to open the forum up for discussion and any questions anybody has for me about anything in the presentation or me, like whatever you want to ask, go for it. Yes.
Yeah, I do have a question. For things that I have that are beyond repair or beyond like my ability to repair, were any of the places that you listed, like, do they accept textiles or like?
That's a really great question.
Yeah.
So Swanson will probably take it. I don't know about Paper City, but honestly what I would recommend for things that feel like they're beyond repair is just turn them into rags.
Yeah.
Turn them into rags and use them around the house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know about the pink bag recycling?
Yeah.
So pink bag recycling takes all the, takes all the things that are not usable and turns them into insulation.
Yeah.
So if you do have more rags, that's where I have bags of rags and then more bags of rags. And then there's a point where I'm like, wow, how many rags can I
Yeah.
stuff under the sink without using them all? But there is a recycling program, and I don't think they can pick up anywhere on the south coast.
Okay.
But with friends in other areas, people regularly pull their stuff.
In Boston area?
Yeah, definitely in the Boston area and several other cities around the country. So they have contacts with local providers, and if there's enough demand,
Yeah,
then the
yeah.
supply can
Well,
do that. So
and-
it is something. It's by
It's kind of,
appointment.
it's
No,
by
oh,
appointment, okay.
No, it's by appointment. So what happens is there just has to be somebody who has that contract, and it might only be one day a month. But if you know what day it is, you sign up and you have this special pink bag, and you put it out, and they drive around and pick it up curbside.
So like we could have a location in New Bedford.
Yeah.
If there
Well,
was
no,
an,
if they're doing New Bedford, they'll pick it up at everybody's house, they make it really easy, they pick it up at your address, you
okay.
just say, I have a bag for this date, and you promise to put it out before 7 a.m. that day or the night before. But it works really well, and they make, insulation, other kind of industrial applications, but they won't even, if you live in a house that has the insulation blown into the walls, that's frequently just recycled fabrics.
Yeah.
Oh,
T-shirts and
wow.
things like that, so.
Oh, I learned something today.
Oh.
It's called food bag recyclers.
In this area, there's also Bay State Textile. So it's like a typical, like a box, you put your stuff in there, but they say that if you donate ripped things, stained things, or whatever, that they will send it to their partners that do the same, like shred them and turn them into for industrial purposes, into different materials. So. Yeah, I didn't know. I did a thing with them and I asked. That's my biggest thing because in Massachusetts you can't throw away textiles. And so I'm like, hey, when are you guys gonna offer us like a real option on what to do with these things that we can't fix, can't turn into something else, things that are really falling
Or if
apart.
somebody wants a small person gig,
Yeah.
because all you need is a real, the person who used to pick it up in my old house, just was this person in a hatchback.
Okay.
Pick
It's
them
just
up
like
and
the.
bring them to the drop-off point, right?
Okay.
So that's an opportunity.
Okay.
Somebody.
Yeah, because I think.
You could, cause there are like a lot of artists that might wanna do like let's say like add patchwork or something to pants or things like that. And there's a makerspace at UMass, that they take all sorts of different like random materials, textiles, yarns, and like wood and random things.
At UMass Dartmouth?
UMass Amherst,
Oh.
because I know this, it does in Western Mass.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so you could drop it out there, and there's also like Facebook groups, like nothing Facebook groups, so you could say, have all this like material that you can use for whatever kind of projects you want. People are usually pretty into things like that, and if you have enough space on like the sheet of fabric to cut it out into like maybe like squares or something, could block print on them.
There's so many things.
Something to say about that, actually, I think that, we're always talking about belts and what can we do to make a difference, but I think it starts with children as well. And I think as a kid, I learned how to sew. My mom taught me how to sew, my sisters, and I used to make little balls and things and place and balls. I still sew to this day, so I make whatever I want, bags and things, and, or I have a hard time getting rid of clothing as well, so I will turn them into other things, paint on them.
Yeah.
This is like a gift.
Yeah.
I saw
that's
that,
awesome.
that's beautiful.
Nice.
So I would like to do more of those, thrifted faux leather or, but I think it should start with kids, like if there's some workshops to teach kids just the basics of sewing, and make it fun, and then just do it all, and do that, or
That's a good one.
yeah. I mean, I worked with a little girl for 3 years, and her mom wanted to throw everything away,
Oh,
and she
yeah.
bought very high-end clothing, and I'm like,
Yeah, totally.
and then, a toy even has a hole in it, it went in the washing machine, and I would mend it, and I remember long after I stopped working with them. I tried to teach her how to sew with the plastic fingers.
Yeah. Oh, like the tapestry.
So then she was suggesting it to her mom.
Mom.
We have to do it.
Awesome.
But I think it's starting a culture of that as well, mothers and their children.
Yes.
Like maybe a workshop
We're gonna,
where
it's in the
people
book.
bring,
Yeah.
toys that have a
Yeah,
hole.
yeah. The little stuffy doctor and yeah, that's something me and my kids. I have like a stash of their plushies that the dog chewed or whatever, and I'm like, and slowly we go through them and fix them up and patch them up. It's super important. Yeah.
Well, it's more of just like to add on to this train of resources. If you have something but maybe it's not like in your capacity to
Turn it into something else. There is this fairly new platform that started by one named Maloney, and it's called Naya Redesign. And it's an online platform where you can go on, and there's different designer profiles. So somebody could be doing patchwork. I'm on there, I do dyeing, mending, people who can turn your own jeans into bags. So like you can work one-on-one with these designers or artists, and they send you a kit where you just put your garment. Once you've figured out a project and you've worked with, you can talk directly to each designer, and then they send you the kit. You mail it in, the person does their work, and then you mail it back to you. So it's just another way of like, if you have this idea, but you just like don't have the capacity to learn to sew a bag, it's this way she's trying to make that, fill that need and that message. It's NAIA, Redesign, and she's her family's from India, so she grew up with understanding textiles, but her background is in fashion but tech, so she created this platform, and she's based in New York, so she's around all of the happenings.
Alright, any other questions before we wrap it up for the evening?
Do we wanna like grab a piece of paper and as people leave, they can just write down the resource that they shared out loud?
Yeah, there's a notebook there, we can pass it.
I guess what I can do is I can write them down, because I have been writing down each of these
Oh, okay.
introductions, and then if you want, you can take a picture before you leave.
Yes.
There's also that, like Fibers podcast person in Boston who's compiled a list of local, regional, and national, secondhand fabric supply, and also just kind of like, I don't know if they're probably sustainable, but like a resource list similar to kind of what we share.
Fibers is you don't know the name of the podcast? You need to like,
Podcast from Boston.
I know, am I,
Sway too.
yeah.
It's like LA based, but
That's right.
you can mail in stuff to them, and they like make things on birds out of reject clothes.
They
So
do.
if you're not following them on social media, it's like big
We're gonna be, can I mention? We're gonna be offering a dye bath situation. We can't call it that because Sway owns Community Dye Bath. I know, which is really, we were like, wah, wah.
They trademarked the
Yeah. That
phrase
term.
community dye bath is
It's-
offering a service.
It is whack as
Yeah,
hell.
but
I'm
you
like,
know
you should
what?
be
We're
like,
gonna come up
everybody
with our
copy
name.
this
Anything
around the
in
world.
community, like it's like
Yeah, it doesn't make
incredible
sense.
to trace
I hope you're listening. Yeah, boo. So, we'll have a different name, but essentially. Yeah, totally. And it's different too because Corey uses all natural dyes, so, and they don't, it's all synthetic, so. But it's a way to rejuvenate old garments. Neighborhood natural neighborhood. The dye fountain, oh my God.
Actually, I think these ideas have.
Yeah, we're brainstorming it. But that's also a great option to give life to an old garment. You reckon so?
Dip and dye.
Yeah, right, that's that. Yeah, and then of course, like through the shop, we also are always encouraging people to mend and repair, and even if, so we are we're gonna have a new space where people can come in to learn how to do their own, all sorts of workshops that will be run by folks in the community, and yeah, so that'll be, and I think with kids, it's super important too, because they don't learn this stuff anymore, and a lot of them want to, and I was like that. My mom was like, I hate to sew, I'm sorry, I'm not teaching you, and I'm like, so I ended up at a fabric store learning how to sew when I was a teenager, you know, so I think we definitely need more of that. Amy's has classes, Amy's Fabric Treasures, but her wait list is so long, and the first day I met her, that is what she told me to do. She's like, you need to offer classes. You don't, so many people want to learn just basics so they can, you know, thrift flips or alter their own stuff or, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, awesome. Yes, yes, yes.
Things are already in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, truly, for sure.
Yeah,
taking
so,
them back, or are you
oh,
trying
sorry,
to-
so I'm not bending those
You're not
pieces,
bending
those are from my, like,
Huh?
personal closet, but I just wanted to, like, show some of my art, cause that's what I do art, guys, Capitalism.
Yes.
Just wanted to show that, and you can touch them, they're mostly natural fibers. You may recognize that the shorts, at the end of the wrap are made from the same, fabric as the first swatch. It's that, antique satin. But yeah, everything else is pretty much like, your second-hand acrylic or first-hand or second-hand plants and animal fibers.
Beautiful. Super cool.
It's one of my favorite sweaters to wear. So anyways, thank you so much. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being here. So glad to be able to like speak to everyone.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, very cool.
Here, I'll squat right here. Like with oh yeah, I was thinking I could do it.
Selfie.
Oh,
You can do the point five. I'll do the
wait,
point
I
five,
have,
so y'all
I
get
have
it.
a tripod.
Actually, that's what I
And then do it side.
Yeah.
oh,
I'll do Make sure I get it.
Open. Awesome.
Alright, thank you so much.
Yeah,
everyone.
thank
If
you.
you would like to follow me on Instagram, I do have business cards up here. Yeah, so only if you want to. If not, that's fine. But yeah, thank you again for coming to this presentation. I'm so grateful that you guys were here. So thank you. Yeah, I was like,